So, Andre, when you're talking about this diversity and inclusion and cultural competence, do you just want to make me politically correct? And what I would say to that question is no, I'm not trying to make you politically correct. But what I am asking is how do you engage people in a respectful manner that honors your values but also recognizes their values, right? And this is not something that is just for lay members, right? This isn't just for everybody, but for leaders, these are the kinds of questions that I'm anticipating that I'm asking people to be able to answer, right? Because we want folks to be their authentic selves. We also want them to be their best self, right? And sometimes the authentic self and the best self is not the same self. But as we look at how we work with people, how we work with families, how we're engaged in the activities of helping, we want to be our authentic self, but we also want to be our best self. And what both of those require is looking at things like our unconscious bias, our hot buttons. What are the political issues that drive or limit my ability to be effective, right? And so sometimes people will say that there are the unmentionables in our society. There are the things that we're not supposed to talk about. We don't like to talk about. And what are those things, right? We're not supposed to talk about religion, right? We're not supposed to talk about our political affiliation, whether it's an independent, a Republican, or a Democrat, right? So we're not supposed to talk about that. We're not supposed to talk about money, how much money we make, right? We're not supposed to talk about those things. And we're not supposed to talk about well, we'll just stick with those three, right? And what I find interesting is when I go to make a decision, my decisions are actually based on many of those three things that we're not supposed to talk about. And so, what I would suggest is that instead of looking at political correctness, actually looking at why do I need to talk or communicate with other folks in a way that is respectful, and secondly, why do I want to interact with the world in a way that is addressing those three values, right? And so it's not so much not talking about, the other one was race, right? My race, my religion, my political affiliation. It's not about not talking about those things, but it's really about how do we talk about those things, right? How do we fuel conversations that stir us to be able to be drawn closer to one another as opposed to be repelled by one another? Because those things that political correctness or talking about politics or race or religion. These could be things that push us apart. But what I would encourage us to think about is the fact that there's ways of interacting that I can draw people towards me. And again, this isn't for everyone, but this is something that I expect leaders to think about as they try to engage with families, with students and people. I want you to be critical thinkers about how you interact with folks, because what you say oftentimes is less important than the way and the method and the meaning behind why you're saying. Your intentions do matter.